Good morning, my fellow yogic practitioners. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too, as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. You know, yoga says that we're currently functioning under ignorance. It's called avidya, actively not knowing the nature of reality. If we did, we wouldn't act the way we do. So there's an alienation and estrangement, a sense of separation, sometimes reduced to your ego, which makes you feel apart from everything instead of a part of everything. And that leads you to understanding that we are all interdependent. We need each other. No one gets it together alone. My teachers have taught me to hang on to my dreams in the face of criticism, to remember that failure is a temporary inconvenience and therefore a potential learning experience. I've learned to be critical of my own performance while staying eager to learn and improve. I consider the impact of my words and my actions on other people and the environment. I realize that I'm interdependent without sacrificing my individuality. So I learned how to stand out while fitting in. One of the first things we learn in yoga is to watch how you talk to people. That's called tapas of speech, which means stop speaking ill of other people. It's one thing to have a critical intellect and be able to point out things that you think are bogus or false in terms of reasoning and the way people's perspectives can get skewed. But it's another thing to just trash talk people, throw shade on them. So all of yoga has to do with the suffering that comes from misidentification. And one thing it wants you to do is tune into the moral order that's called the Dharma. There's an overarching harmony that can be perceived, but you got to shift your consciousness in order to do this. So the idea is that you give up the worldly life for the promise of an exchange of a more real life, which is the spiritual life. And I would suggest that you don't become a PhD in woundology and worship your wound. Learn to see your wound mythologically instead of pathologically. And then all of a sudden, you get another perspective. And you realize that the things that you're struggling with, people have struggled with throughout time. And different answers have been provided by different generations and different cultures. And there's a common thread, a through line that you can find if you delve into this deeply. So it's as if you have to recognize you got cataracts, spiritual cataracts. You don't see clearly. But it's possible to explore these inner dimensions and then, of course, show what you've learned in the outer dimension, in the material world. And part of it has to do with the fact that everybody comes in tormented in some way. And our job is to learn how to accept the fact that we might be twisted, shriveled, betrayed, but we can resurrect ourselves. We can rise like the phoenix out of the ashes of our own discomfort. And it doesn't matter how we transform our life, although it seems like you're trying to transcend life, but not really. You're trying to incorporate everything, and then go beyond it so that the next most radiant self that you have can emerge and share its gift with the world. So whether or not your psychology is Freudian and you begin with infant sexuality, whether your psychology is Jungian and you go into the collective unconscious and the mature part of the second half of life, whether you're Adlerian in your consciousness and you're interested only in social adaptivity, whether you're Gestalt in your psychology and you're interested in moment-to-moment phenomenology, whether you're Rogerian in your psychology and it's just non-directive about how do you be genuine and sincere, authentic in the way you share yourself, whether you're Reichian in your psychology and you're only interested in what blocks me from having healthy orgasms, whether you're transpersonal in your psychology and you realize without a spiritual perspective, another part of you is bereft of the wholeness, or whether you're in archetypal psychology and you're interested in making what's called the ego-self axis. It doesn't matter. Just remember, awareness hurts. Conflict is the beginning of consciousness, and we all have that spiritual warrior inside ourselves that's capable of doing battle with the forces of our own ignorance and coming out on top.